We want to be respectful of your time. We're recording it, so your friends that aren't here tonight, they can watch a recording when they're having a cocktail and learn more about the club. But you guys have heard me too often talk about, part of our jobs as members is to be educated and come to things like this and be stewards of the club and carry the proper message. So I appreciate you guys taking time to come here tonight. There's always some people that come to every single one of them. Doc, Horan, you're always here. I appreciate it. But tonight is going to be just a quick synopsis of our current financial position for the year because, right, we got this amazing project going on, but we still got to run a business, right? So how's the business doing? A little bit of background on the survey and what the board's approach to the survey is. And then the star of the show will get up and give us greater details about the project that we have undertaken that will be done soon. And we're going to all enjoy it more than we probably thought we were going to when we first approved this project. So, I did that right. All right, where are we year to date? I've been on the board for, I don't know, is it 5 or 6 years now, maybe 7? And it was always try to come out of the winter months without losing a couple $100,000. And then spend the rest of the year trying to make up the deficit so you got to hey, we broke even for the year, right? And we've been doing a much better job over the last 3 or 4 years where we've been coming out of the winter months, if you will, break even, slightly positive, but clearly not running large deficits that make us play catch up year round. So through March of 26, revenue's up 5%, gross margins up 4%, operating income we're basically break even, $560 loss, decimal dust, but the budget was a $65,000 loss. So we're $65,000 to the good compared to what our budget was, okay? What we decided, again, a few years ago, is that operating income of $560 does not include any initiation fees we've gotten from new members, okay? That's, in our opinion on the board, that's a capital thing. We should be looking to put those kind of dollars in capital reserves rather than just jamming them in the till and saying it's part of operations, because it is something that you're never going to get that again. It's a one-timer for that particular member. So that operating income does not have $49,950. There's not $50,000 of new initiation money in that number. So if you wanted to put that in there, we're at 50,000 positive operating income. So very strong. And if you think about it, there's been a lot of expenditures when you have transition at any level, and more importantly at the GM level. We had a fee that we paid to the organization that helped us find Dave. We had transition where we had John and Dave working together. Wasn't for a long period of time, but there's expenses in that negative 560 that we hadn't budgeted for because we didn't necessarily know what a lot of those expenses were going to be, and we didn't know we were going to have them. The next question that people are asking is, what are the membership levels? Do we have a waiting list? That changes almost daily. Do we have a waiting list?
We do not.
Okay, back to, so we just approved a new member this afternoon. So we're back to a waiting list, but that is 250 golf members, 60 social, some non-resident, a couple of emeritus, but we're full at 250, and we continue to have great interest in the club. Dave and the team are doing a very good job when a potential buyer comes through the door, if you will. More likely than not, we're going to get a closed sale before he or she leaves. Starting May 1st, which it's now May 13th, anybody who walks in the door, it's $20,000 to join, okay? And for a while there, it was, okay, it's a $10,000 initiation, and then we have a pool project assessment of $10,000 that you all paid. They had to pay it too, so it was $20,000. Now, when somebody comes in the door, we say there's a joiner fee of $20,000, and 10 of it goes to the project, 10 of it is initiation money. But we didn't we didn't think there was necessity going forward to continually say the initiation is this and the pool assessment is that. You're paying it whether we call it a pool or assessment or a joiner fee. Green Bay Country Club is now 30,000. Butamore is a little less than 20, but I would tell you we've had how many Butamore members in the last 6 months? Half a dozen? Got 5 or 6. So again, at the board level, we're like, okay, market tells us that $10,000 is probably low. Market tells us that there's a high of 30,000 right down the road. We picked 20,000, and we're full. Now there was it becomes 20,000 on May 1st. There was actually a $2,500 savings, right? Because it wasn't at 17.5. The initiation was 7,500. Pool assessment 10. It was 17.5 to join. We let people know on the waiting list that, or any prospective member, it's 17.5 to the end of April. May 1st, it's 20. So we might have squeezed a couple in under the old price, if you will, but the new price is $20,000, and nobody, to our knowledge, has told you we're leaving because of that, right? Our job, Dave's job, now is to make sure that current members, probably equally or more important than new members, understand the value that we bring and the member experience to where you would say, geez, I bet you we could charge somebody $30,000, they'd still want to join, right? So there's work to be done. We're not saying that everything is fixed, but I think we're in a really good spot to where we're comfortable with the product that we offer and the fees that we charge. Market tells us that it's appropriate because people are still joining. Okay, membership. I won't ask in the room who filled out the membership because it might not be the percentage I'd like to see. But we did have a very strong response to the membership survey. Okay, I've been around long enough to know that surveys are really good, but they're also dangerous in the fact that people are going to tell you what they want to see changed, and if they don't see change, then the survey was a complete waste of time and money, right? So you saw this once before as part of when the survey went out the door, but clearly we have a food and beverage opportunity, whether it's food quality, service at the table, whatever it might be. We have a food and beverage opportunity. When I had the pleasure of interviewing with Dave, and he asked me, what do you think are some of the things that the club needs to work on? I said, we're doing a survey. I said, but I'd be shocked if food and beverage is not in the top 3, okay? And to me, it's not Armageddon, it's little things, right? We're not changing the radio station as much as we're fine-tuning it to make sure that people, when they come out here, they go, you know what, I can go to Rye, I can go to Lombardi's. If I want the supper club feel, I can go to Mark's East Side. I like to go to the club because I know I'm going to have a consistent, good meal, and it's going to be, I was telling Dave yesterday, I took you Friday fish fry people. Obviously, you know Wentz in Oshkosh is the best place for Friday night fish. I took Dave there yesterday to show him what I'd like to see the fish fries here being, because I'm a Friday fish fry guy. But when you come here, you ought to say that was the best meal I had this month. That was the best service I had this month, right? I don't care if it's meatloaf. I don't care if it's steak. I don't care if it's, something fancy that I don't even know how to pronounce. It ought to be the best meal you had that month, right? It's not like we're not cheap, right? I mean, the entrees here are not cheap, but they ought to be the best entree you had. The service ought to be the best you had, and you ought to feel like it's a place you want to come and bring your friends, okay? So we heard loud and clear in the survey that we have things to work on, okay? Golf course remains, one of the strongest assets. It's a beautiful golf course. I think what we're doing outside here is a very close second in some people's eyes because we're, a pool and golf course club. Some people would say the project is, the strongest asset we have. But we understand that at the time of the survey, this was a golfing membership, right? The fact that we have the other amenities is great. But we love the golf course, and Dustin does a great job. So we need to make sure we understand how do we keep that the asset that it is, right? I mean, some of the things that we're finding when we're doing the project is there was a lot of deferred maintenance at the club, right? We want to make sure that we understand to maintain the course at the condition it is in, what is the annual spend we have to have? And if we don't have the annual spend, okay, we don't have to spend X amount of dollars a year, but every so often you're going to have to spend X to redo bunkers, redo whatever it might be. So I'll allude to a little bit more on that topic in a few seconds here. Members support purposeful investment with stronger openness to capital improvements and tied to tangible member-facing outcomes, debt reduction. The members basically said, we love to support our club, but we want to know why we're supporting it, right? Don't think it's a blank check. Don't think you can stand up here and say we need X amount of millions for a new pool or whatever. Tell us the whys. Tell us that you're spending our money as frugally as possible. Just because we belong to a country club doesn't mean it's a blank check. Little story here for Gary. I can tell you right now, this gentleman on the pool, if the nails should have been $1.50 instead of $1.75, Gary lets them know that the nails should be $1.50, right? I mean, we are squeezing hard on the project to make sure that we do right by you guys. You said, hey, you can spend up to $125 per month on an enhancement fee per member. Gary's going to tell you we've had some overruns, but we're still inside of that $125. So if you're waiting for the end for me to tell you that we want more money from you, you can leave now because we don't want more money from you. All right? Members are seeking greater consistency and transparency. Absolutely, right? I'll own that as the current president for 1 year until the new president takes over. But even as I was president, I think we did a better job of communicating to you, but not as good as we should have, right? We haven't found a cadence to where you know that, okay, John's going to send out a message every month and it's going to talk about these three things. We have not been as good at that as we could be. So I'll own that. But I also know that part of the, hey, what are the next steps when we start talking about where do we have to spend money in the future? Gary and I have talked about this. We started, just to take you down memory lane, we started with a long-range strategic planning committee, and we were about 3 meetings in, and they said, you got a pool problem, right? So kind of had to back burner what kind of money do we have to spend on the golf course? Do we need pickleball courts someday? Do we need this? Do we need that? The global product you would get from an overall strategic plan had to get back burnered because we had a swimming pool that was causing problems to where it needed to get fixed, or we would be a club without a pool, right? So the board is committed to, as soon as Gary has swam a couple laps in the pool and somebody's had a couple of cheeseburgers and we know things down there are open and operational, I'll ask you one of many times, be patient. This is like you just open up a new business. This is like you just bought a new house. This is like, there's a lot of things that we hope and pray and have confidence that they're going to go as well as they can, but there's always going to be a curveball, right? There's a little curveball from Gary's message on timing. You know, it is what it is. I mean, we're not up here saying that we did everything perfectly, but we're asking you for patience to go, that was a pretty big undertaking in Wisconsin when things aren't controllable from the weather perspective. I think we actually did pretty good. But the board is committed to more regular communication. Dave brought some great ideas from his background in terms of, what do you call it, coffee with the GM? And I said it's Wisconsin, so cocktail with the GM, where almost like a situation like this where you grab a cocktail and sit in a room and ask Dave questions, right? So, to be continued on the survey, heard you loud and clear, totally respect and appreciate the fact that you were telling us what you wanted to hear. And I know that if I stand up here in November, which would be my last time standing up here, and you guys can clap to get me out the door that night, but not tonight. That night, if you don't see where we can stand up here and say, I apologize, I shouldn't do that. If you said, hey, this was what you told us, this is what we've done to improve that. If we can't stand up here and give you tangible things to show you that things are moving in the right direction, then shame on us. Okay, but we're here to tell you that give us a chance to get it open, give us a chance to understand the pluses and minuses, and we're all smart people. Gary wants to use the pool as soon as it's open. I want to have cocktails on the patio. If the pool isn't right, Gary's going to know. If the cocktails and dinner isn't right, I'm going to say, hey, this isn't what we wanted it to be. We need to do things differently. And I will tell you that I like a lot of things about Dave. Is he's been a breath of fresh air in a positive way. Sometimes you get people that, am I stealing your time, Gary? Sometimes when you have people that come in essence, we're the CEO of another company, what you get is, at the company I used to run, this is what we did. And pretty soon, everything that you were used to is changed, right? And Dave has done a fantastic job with the staff. I've talked to the staff. Dave's been here 6 months. So I talked to the staff in the last week, each one of them individually, the leadership staff, and said, tell me how it's going. And the amount that they were aligned was amazing. Usually you'll have two people that say one thing and two people that say the direct opposite, and you're like, okay, what's the message, right? Leadership team extremely aligned on many things, and one thing that I was very appreciative of is they said Dave has spent a proper amount of time understanding how we've done things around here before he's even asked us to think about doing things differently. And to me, that's the leadership quality that I saw in him. But until somebody actually works the job, you don't know how he or she is going to do their job. So we got the right guy in the chair. Things are in a positive direction. We're making money. We're not hemorrhaging cash. And you filled out the survey that told us what our marching orders should be over this next fiscal year. And I'm here to tell you, I'm standing up here in November. And if I don't address that to your fancy, I want somebody to raise your hand and go, hey, you told us in May you were going to be able to show us some tangible improvement. And if I'll own it, just like I'm owning it now. If we didn't do as good a job as we could have, then we have things to do for the following fiscal year. But we spend time and energy doing it. It'd be foolish not to use those results to make this place even better. Gary, I'm almost running out of breath, so you're... Okay, before Gary, well, you can get up and stretch your legs. I've said this too many times, but if I say it 100 more times, it's still not enough to say. North Shore Golf Club owes this gentleman an amazing debt of gratitude in the fact that when we knew we were doing the project, I'm a numbers guy, but I'm not going to get into the minutia of ramp slope and all this other kind of stuff. And I asked somebody, I said, who do you think would be really good at this? Gary Kiter. And Gary and I didn't know each other that well before that. I went to him and said, would you be willing to help out with this project? And after about 2 meetings, I'm like, I'm going to step back and make sure that Gary has complete reins on this project. And when I say complete reins, I will get extremely upset if someone says, well, Gary's making all the decisions. Gary's not making all the decisions. Gary is the leader of the board when it comes to this project and has kept the board exceptionally up to date, communication, what's going on. So this it's Gary Kiter's project for the amount of energy this man has invested in this project, but this is not, well, Gary must have decided that, Gary must have decided that. It's not. And when he comes up here and talks about the project, you'll see the passion and commitment that he has to making this the best it could be. And it's not because he's the boss and he's telling us exactly what we're going to do. He spent, I don't know how many hours, but if you talk to Myron Construction and EUA, they're going to probably try to hire the guy. Joni might not like that, but he has been very fair and very demanding at the same time of this project and how it works. And so kudos to Gary Kiter. Kudos to our project partners, EUA, the architect, Nicolay Bank, the bank. Without the bank, project is standstill, and Myron Construction. Those four people worked collaboratively together to make sure that this project turns out to be exactly what we wanted it to be. So with that, turn it over to Gary.
Thanks. I'll just add to some of John's comments. There have been a lot of other members excuse me, involved with me, people in the Interior Design Committee. Brent Kudrowski is here today. He's helped me with a lot of the technical things. So I've reached out and kidnapped and voluntold and grabbed people to help through this whole process. So it really has been a collective effort for the membership and from the membership. So I've got a lot of information to take you through. This will be available, it's being recorded. So there's a lot of information to go through, but I think it's important for you to at least hear it or grasp it. And I'll start with a quick rundown of kind of where we see the project coming in. All right. So right now we're tracking at about 10%. My best forecast is 10% over budget. Okay. I want to explain that a little bit, but there is, as John mentioned, there is no change to the member funding because we're within the window that we were allowed to operate within. There's some key drivers to those things. Our original bids, and we've had a moving target since we started this process back in 23. We had a project that we were going to kick off in 24. We got halfway ready to pull the trigger, start digging, and we had to put everything on pause and go back and reimagine the project and delay it a whole nother year. So we've had some stops and starts. So we had an initial design expenditure with round one, which was about $200,000, which is just, we lost that with the first effort. So that's part of the thing. We're still keeping that in the total project cost, but that's essentially kind of a sunk cost. The original bids, when we talked back in a year ago, and we said, this is where we think things are going to be, all the bids that came in from 3 very reputable contractors came in, and we did discuss this at the annual meeting in November. The bids came in higher than we had projected the cost. So that's about another $200,000. As we got into the state review process, there were a few items that we thought that we could do one way, that the state said, nah, we'd rather have you do it this way. So there were probably another $200,000 of code-driven items that we had to make changes to the plans as we were already well into the project. And I'll highlight those couple of items that kind of impacted the project. There were some unforeseen conditions, there always are with a construction project. I add those up to be about $120,000 worth of unforeseens. And then there were some design omissions or modifications. As you get into a project, either there were things that someone didn't think about or other things that we didn't expect, but now that we're here and now that we're opening this up, we ought to do this. One of the things I can point to is tuck pointing. I think we all knew there were cracks and some failures in the brick facade of the lake house. As we got into the lake house and started pulling it apart, there was black mold throughout that lake house, that restaurant room. And you're not going to repair all that, put all new drywall, all new insulation, everything else in there, and not fix the cracks that are allowing the water to come in. So there's another $30,000 that we needed to do all the tuck pointing to make sure that we didn't ruin the new work that we were just putting in. There are a number of items that added to that. And there are also what I call owner-driven or change options, where we had a decision to go one way or the other. We were looking at value engineering, a variety of different things. And there were some things that we decided, we fortunately were able to kind of keep that a net neutral. And these are things I'd call trade-offs. We decided to eliminate this, but we're going to do this over here because that really enhances the project. So I think we dialed the project in even better. And then we looked at any kind of cost avoidance items and value engineering to try to keep the project at the lowest cost possible. What we're going to end up with is some added amenities that weren't in the original scope. And some of these came out of all of the things above, either driven by code or driven by necessity because of as we opened up the project. One of them, we are going to have a completely fully refurbished lake house, the interior. The original plan only afforded us to try to put new coat of paint, carpeting and such over that old woodwork that was in there. But as we discovered all the mold, we had to pull all that stuff down. So rather than putting the bad stuff back up, we had to put in all brand new finishings throughout that lake house. So it's a much better refurbishment and better enhancement to the entire project. And that was driven by the mold remediation. We were landlocked with our site, and we opted to try to use an ADA type elevator lift to accommodate any ADA requirements that we had. The state didn't look at it the same thing. It was interesting. The state didn't look to see that an ADA design lift would provide the appropriate access, and there were a number of members that also preferred that we had a ramp. So as we had to bring a ramp back into the project, that led us into some more retaining walls, a lot more concrete, and some more shaping of the land, and it kind of compressed the project. But we have a wonderful now gradual ramp that goes down to this new pool area, and that was driven by the state review, and it was code driven. The restrooms in the lake house were not, we identified this at the original meeting as well as the annual meeting. Those bathrooms were not ADA compliant. We felt as though when we first designed it, that by building the changing room building, they were all going to be ADA compliant, and that would allow us to comply with the law needing ADA compliancy for bathrooms. They saw it differently, and they said, no, you need to change those bathrooms in the lake house to be ADA compliant, okay? So those are new bathrooms in there. You'll notice they are no longer, they are now single occupancy bathrooms, because that's the only way we could work within that space. So they used to be 2 occupancy bathrooms before, they're now single occupancy bathrooms right now. But that's the only way we could do it with the existing space, the existing walls, to make them ADA compliant. A big sore point was, as we were grabbing more space in that upstairs, we were really taking away from the golf shop. And they had used that back area for golf regripping and additional bag storage. So we've got a solution where we're actually creating underneath the deck a new storage area where we're going to have room for 150 to 180 bags down underneath the deck that really wasn't originally part of the plan. The driveway, you've noticed it's always been tight out here. As you come across by the 10th tee in the front of the lake house, we know there's going to be a popular spot. So Dustin was the one that really led that charge, said, can we widen that area? So out to 14 feet, so it's not so tight and it's such a bottleneck going through that 10th tee and the lake house. So we opened up that space. So that's going to be a much better feeling out there, as we've got a lot of traffic circling through that area. Tile flooring in the cabanas, we did remove what we call a fluid applied pool deck, and that was going to go on into the cabanas. We removed that fluid applied deck and then needed to have something in the cabanas, and we chose tile, so there was a slight upcharge to that. We have a dramatically improved sound system and wireless access points. I'll go over that in a little bit. The event space out here, if you've ever had an event and you had a large tent, it kind of tipped a little bit. And if you were on the wrong table, your drink leaned a little bit and you could, fall into the lake. But that will all be regraded and relabeled, brought up about 18 to 20 inches on that back side. So it's going to be a much better event space, because we've run trucks through that the entire time. We've also included in it a budget for seasonal golf simulator. We did not have a golf simulator in the original project. We've found a way to do that. So we will be able to put a golf simulator in there beginning. It'll be seasonal, more from a November to March timeframe. So that is in the budget. So we'll have a golf simulator out there. So that's new to the project. And I believe, and I've always felt as though, the second time around, we really got it right. I think we really enhanced the project, and it's a much stronger project. I won't go through all the details here, but I wanted to, this is under each area, I already talked to some of them. These are some of the things that each contributed. If you want to have more detail, I can certainly take you through that. But each and every one of these groupings of either unforeseen conditions or design omissions or owner-driven things all contributed to the numbers that I just shared with you. Okay, so the project status. The lake house, the kitchen in the lake house is virtually done. It's all complete. We're just waiting for a few other things to come in. The bar is really taking shape. I was just out there today. The countertop is in, all the bar equipment is in, all of the windows are starting to come in. We did get the tuck pointing completed. All the metal railings are going up, and most of the finishes are all complete. All the flooring, carpeting, and tile is all in. The pool, the deck is being poured. As you can see right now, we've got about half the pool deck poured. Over the next 3 or 4 days, we'll get the rest of that pool deck poured, as long as we don't have rain. And the pool vessel itself is being prepped for the tile that will go around the perimeter, as well as then having the pool plastered and finished from that standpoint. The changing room building is complete, except for we're waiting on lockers, and the mirrors have not been put in. And the rooftop that you see here adjacent to the patio, that will be completed in a couple of weeks. The entire site, we have finished the stone retaining wall. It's in place now. We still have to pour concrete there. And then the landscaping's all underway. Okay, so the next 10 days are going to be, the funny thing about a project, it seems like it goes on and on and on, then the last 10 days, it's like everything's got to happen. And it's just crazy. So there's so many things happening, so many different trades are going to be here, a lot of action. So in the next 10 days, the porcelain tile for the wraparound deck, that's all coming in. It's due in Monday morning, and they're going to start installing that all next week. We have umbrellas for that area that will all be installed as well. The bar countertops, as I said, are now in. The bar windows and awnings, we're waiting on those. They should be in the next 5 to 6 days. The sound system, that's going to be installed in the next few days. The lime wash, as you can see, there's still red brick out there. That red bricking will be lime washed to match the clubhouse and the lake house. Okay, so we've been waiting to have that. That was supposed to start today. It's actually starting tomorrow, so they're doing a test area back on the backside. Then they'll do that on the changing building, and all the red brick that you see out there will be lime washed to make sure that it matches the clubhouse. Something I didn't know about it, I always thought you just painted the brick, but actually you don't. You have to lime wash it, because actually when you paint the brick, you prevent the brick from being able to breathe, and that can add and contribute to mold. So you actually do what's called a lime wash that then gives you the same coloration that you want, but allows the brick to naturally breathe and allows the building to breathe. So something I learned along the way. Lost my place, so we're lime washing. We have a logo sign that was in the design going into the changing room. We have an outdoor clock up on that gable of the lake house. Indoor signage, just men's, women's bathrooms, that's all coming. Beverage services, the soda guns, all the beer taps, all that's going to be coming together in the next couple of days. We do have our food service inspection. We'll do a final punch list. We'll have essentially substantial completion and certificate of occupancy by May 22nd, which is next Friday, the 22nd. So we should have that certificate of occupancy. Obviously, if anything, if we don't pass the food inspection or something like that, that could impact the certificate of occupancy, all right? All the furniture is starting to come in the week of the 18th, so we'll be putting the furniture into that area. And we have an entire new fleet of golf carts that are arriving, because we haven't been able to have the golf carts in the basement of the lake house because that's been a construction zone. So we've been using temporary gas carts. So the entire new fleet of electric golf carts is coming, should be here by the 22nd. So all these things coming together, it's going to be really nice. So we're looking at a soft opening plan for Memorial Day weekend, thinking Friday evening. We've got fundowners that night, so we're hoping to be able to have a soft opening of the entire lake house, restaurant, bar, and that entire deck of the lake house. The plan is we'll be able to have some cocktails and drinks and some appetizers, I think. We need to give the kitchen a chance to actually get in, get their supplies in, and get it, Dave has a plan of day 1, day 2, day 3 of how he's going to ramp that kitchen up. So we really can't all of a sudden open on day 1 and say, we're ready to cover 50 meals. All right, so there will be a step in as we step into that kitchen, but we'll have full service up here from the clubhouse and on the patio for that weekend. So really good news that we're able to hit that date. It's been a pressure cooker to try to get this project in the 9 months since we started it, right after Labor Day, to get it done by now. But the team has done a terrific job. So no food service right away on Friday, but it'll ramp up over the next 2 weeks. And over the next month or two, a lot of the artwork, the fine appointments, plants, and more interior design elements will be coming in from the interior design committee. So if you walk in there and go, oh, it's a white wall with no art on it. Well, that's coming. It's just not here yet. So, hold your comments on that. That's still being curated and purchased as we speak. So that's kind of the lake house over the next 10 days. Busy, busy time. Some things to think about. Maybe you haven't studied this, but the lake house essentially has space or capacity for 92 seats. Okay? 92 additional seats. And they break out with 20 indoor dining seats, 20 indoor dining, but they're high tops. So 12 at the high top level, 20 at more dining table height. So 32 indoor. On the outside, we've got 24 dining tables outside and 12 outdoor bar stools for a total of 36. Plus we have 10 indoor bar seats at the bar and 14 outdoor bars. So you can see on the map over here, All the green shaded tables, those are the low dining room tables. And this area right here is kind of a banquette where you've got a bench with tables and then the seats on the other side. So it's a really nice feature to that. And then the orange colored ones are the high tops. Okay, so that kind of helps you see that space. We are looking to make a few changes. As I mentioned, the bathrooms are single occupancy, so there's a privacy lock on every door that shows also occupied or not occupied from that standpoint. This stairway that we've historically always used, we're looking to keep that as staff only. There are other routes for members to get down to the pool deck and everything, so there's a lot of traffic, especially with this many seats, a lot of meals coming up and down, a lot of wait staff coming up and down between the kitchen. So we're gonna designate that staircase over there that we have always used before as staff only. There's also a door back here that goes into the baggage room. We'd like to keep that also as staff only. We don't want members coming off the golf course and using this as a shortcut, because there will be people dining here. We don't want people coming in, you know, kind of traipsing through the dining space from that standpoint. So that's kind of a preference. So the membership, you can see the red arrows, kind of that's the pathway to and from the pool that we'd like members to take from that standpoint. Okay? So that's the lake house, exciting. The next 30 days, so pool complex, and I broke it into pool, changing building, and the entire site, okay? So a lot of dates here, a lot of things that all have to happen. I have a note with a little asterisk up there. Timing is dynamic and easily impacted by weather. We lost a day on Tuesday with the rain and the wind. We weren't able to pour the concrete that we needed to, so we got pushed, and every day is a day lost. So right now, we're down to that last 30 days of trying to get everything in so we can get that pool open. So we've got the concrete deck, should be finished by mid-May, the 15th, which is the end of this week. The perimeter tiles should start being visible around the perimeter of the pool by the 19th. The sound system should be completed by Memorial Day weekend. We have a sign-in counter and a service bar. Those canopies will be completed and the countertops framed by the 22nd. There's a pool slide and there are pool features. There's some water jets and things like that for the kids in the zero entry area that will be finalized by the end of May. All the lighting and trim will be done by the end of May. Look like we'll be plastering the pool on be completed by the 5th of June. This is one of those items that is weather dependent. It must remain above 50 degrees for 24 hours while we put the plaster on. So when we start having 40 and 35 degree nights, we can't plaster. And at the same time, you have to be far enough along in the project to plaster it and then quickly fill the pool, because the pool water actually cures the plaster. So you've got to be in a position where you have your pool fencing in place so you don't have to hire a night watchman to guard the pool the entire time. So sequencing is really key here to make sure that when we do the plaster, when we fill the pool, when is the fence up, and when can we do all those things. So a lot of really quick timing that we've got to do. So we'll get the pool fencing up at the same time we get the plaster. We'll be caulking the deck by the 9th. Pool health inspection by the 9th. Final punch list on the 11th. Pool commission checkout on the 12th. Certificate of occupancy the 12th. You'll notice that I stopped at the 12th. We had previously communicated opening the week of, intentionally vague, the week of June 22nd, because that's what 45 days ago the project said. We've been able to claw back probably 2 weeks of time with some good weather, some premium time by the crew, and a lot of hard work by a lot of good people. So we're hopeful that we can deliver 2 more weekends in the summer for the membership instead of opening. That 22nd was a Monday, so essentially that would have been the 26th or 27th, the first weekend. So we are hopeful, but I've got to again point back to that asterisk. If the weather changes and we lose time, we could lose that weekend. Okay? But I'm really excited that this looks very doable, but keep your fingers crossed. Changing room building, we got to lime wash that. Mirrors are going to be the last thing put in. The glass handrail, which will be on the rooftop deck, that comes in actually on Monday. Gotta get the lockers into there, logo sign, the wheelchair lift comes in 1st of June. The rooftop deck pavers will be in that first week of June. Do a final punch list, certificate of occupancy on the 12th as well. We have a couple of what are called festoon light poles that essentially provide the lighting around that, upper deck that are delayed, and they probably won't come in until July. So you may see in each of the 4 corners something delicately hiding, some wiring coming out that's for the lighting and the sound system that goes up there, but we'll be able to put those in as soon as they come in July. And then on the site, the retaining wall is now finished. We have to put concrete on the ramp. We've got to have a handrail going down the ramp. We'll be putting topsoil all around the landscaping. We should have this new road out here, or the pathway, by the 10th tee, all asphalted by the 5th of June. We'll have site lighting up by the 10th of June. This temporary road out here going out to the parking lot should be removed by the 15th. We'll be doing landscaping that second half of June, getting all of that done. And the boat dock access, as soon as we finish with having construction equipment here, then we'll be allowed to have access to the boat dock. What we can't have is traffic, pedestrian traffic from the boat dock coming up to the clubhouse, going across a construction zone, okay? And what you'll start to see is we'll gradually pull back the construction fence and reduce construction fencing. As we get more of our pool fencing up, we can start to make the construction fencing go away. So we're very sensitive to trying to pull that back. This fencing right here, they've just finished that 3rd fire pit, redoing that. So soon we'll be able to traverse through here and get all the way to the lake house without having to go around the front. So that fence will be pulled back a little bit, so we'll have full access through that area. So very exciting, a lot of things that have to happen over the next 10 and 30 days, but we're on track, and I'm very hopeful that we can hit the 12th versus the 22nd. So at the pool, what you will see, some details here. The purple boxes are essentially what I'm calling soft furniture or gathering spaces. We've had a couple of those down there. We'll have a total of 4. This is an old design, so it only shows 3. We have furniture for 4 gathering spaces. The green area, the green circle, is the preferred primary entrance to the pool. Coming down the ramp or coming through this entrance here, because it comes right by the check-in station where towel drop, fresh towels, member sign in, and where you would discard your used towels, all in that area. So we would prefer membership continue to enter that way. This orange box is an important element to the plan. That is what we call a server station. You will be able to get 95% of all of your drinks right here without having to go up into the lake house. Staff won't have to go up there. Now that's not a bar for members to belly up to, but that is a place so that the staff who are serving the pool only have to go to here to get your drink, to bring it to you at your lounge chair. Okay, so that's the purpose that we live. We have 6 beers on tap, we have wine coolers, we have all the soda gun, we have ice, we have everything you need. The only thing we don't have down there is a bartender that can make a Manhattan or mixed drink. We didn't want to staff a bartender here, then 25 feet away have a bartender up in the lake house. Now on really busy weekends, we may very well have 2 bartenders, but we want to be able to have the option, okay, from that standpoint. Down here, the yellow area, these are dining tables at the pool level. So we already talked about that we have dining up in the lake house, we have dining on the lake house deck. We also have tables, as we previously had at our pool, tables down here where you can sit down and eat your meal in a swimsuit or whatever. And we will have food service throughout the entire pool deck. So you can order your food at your lounge chair as well, as we experimented with last summer. A couple emergency exits down here on the south and over there near the boat dock. We don't want member traffic going in and out of those doors, but they are available from an egress standpoint. What we'll get from the pool deck, 85 total chaise lounge chairs. Does anybody know how many we had last year? We had 35. Okay, so we're doubling. Almost all of these numbers are double of what we previously had. Side tables, umbrellas. We had 14 umbrellas. We're going to have 30 umbrellas. We had 3 soft gathering points, 32 dining spots. We had about 24 before. So every one of those metrics, we are certainly making this a much larger area and accommodating more members. Okay, so that's one of the things that when we have busy weekends, it was tough to get a chair and things like that. So we're very hopeful that the size of this pool and the capacity of the pool will really be welcomed by the members. Okay? And then one last thing is we did upgrade our wireless access point. We only have one exterior wireless access point. It's right over here by the 19th hole. So if you had a phone or you needed to have Wi-Fi from that standpoint, you could only get it in close proximity to that. So we are putting one over here on this side by the light pole so that when you have an event out here, you can have Wi-Fi. We're putting one on the far west side of the pro shop. So if you're out on the driving range and such, you'll be able to get service out there as well. And then we've got 1, 2, and 3 essentially around to service the pool area because all of our servers will be doing things off of tablets. So we need to have Wi-Fi connectivity so that we can actually have all those, the POS system work for us from that standpoint. We also have one Wi-Fi access point that is directionally designed to direct down towards the boat docks. So we can have Wi-Fi down there. So I know it's kind of a massive spread, but I think if we look through it from a technical standpoint, we've got pretty damn good coverage, across that standpoint. So certainly moving into the right technology framework. So with that, I know I've gone through a lot, but it's been a terrific project. I am glad to have this be hopefully the last time I have to talk to you about it. But I'm also would like to open it up to any questions either for the project or things that John or Dave covered at this point in time. And again, thank you all for coming as well.
Gary,
Tim?
is the pool water going to be flag blue?
Yeah, Trump blue or American blue or whatever they call that?
Don't repeat the question.
Yeah.
Don't
Repeat the question. It's a white plaster with a kind of a blue speckle to it, pretty common. And then there are lane divider. We've got swim lanes in the pool. So there are 4 swim lanes and those are tiled and they are kind of a deep blue, as is the perimeter blue going around the perimeter of the pool.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is there going to be a slide?
The question is there going to be a slide? Oh, yes, there's a slide. And that I could spend an hour with you about the pursuit of a slide that didn't look like a piece of junk and wasn't dangerous. We've had several slides here. We had a slide that had a ladder, but when you climb up to it and a child did fall off of our slide one point in time, I think it was 15 years ago, fell backwards and hit her head on the concrete. So we had to then get a spiral staircase. So finding a spiral staircase and a slide that was not just a playground slide, had the proper water and all that, and stayed below 6 feet tall. I could get them if I wanted them 25 feet tall. That was really easy. But below 6 feet, because if I'm above 6 feet, we have to have a dedicated lifeguard right in that area, and you have to be able to close off the slide if the lifeguard goes off of duty. So there were all kinds of complexities, so we really had to, and we got a slide out of Vancouver, Washington, out of a special outfit, but it was a year-long search for the right kind of slide. So yes, there'll be a nice slide. And it will be beige in color though, so it kind of blends in. The slide also, the old slide, if you remember, was put on the south side of the pool, which blocked everybody's view. It's on the north side of the pool. So one from the upper deck up here, you'll never see the slide. It's hidden by the hill. And then when you're down below on the pool deck, you won't have a lounge chair back behind the slide. So essentially, we moved that slide out of everyone's view lines, but it's still there for the kids. Any other questions? Yes?
Yeah, Gary, first off, thank you. Great presentation for all the work and everything you put in. Way to go. My question regarding the pool, and you know more about this than I do, but pouring concrete in the winter, ground settling,
Yeah, so there's a number of different things, and I don't have it in my brain. I don't know, Dave, what guarantees we do have. But if you remember, part of our real concern of why we paused the last project was the condition of the soil out in this area we're rebuilding, okay? And in fact, one of the unforeseen things we had, and I will get to answering your question, was as we were digging the pool, if you know, we took core borings in 7 different spaces around the pool in the lake house. But when we actually got into digging the pool in that deep end, we found an extra special, almost like quicksand, soft spot that happened to be right where our pool deep end was. And there was no way we could have core bored that because we would have had to go through the pool, right? So we found a very soft spot that was below the standards of the soil that we needed. So we actually had to put the pause on, and all of a sudden I was afraid we're looking at $150,000 a piece, helical piers all again. And we were able to get a new design just in that deep end where we essentially added another 5 inches of the concrete, and we put the rebar every 2 inches instead of every 6 inches, and we essentially expanded the footings on all sides. So all the designers, all the engineers feel as though we've appropriately addressed that soil condition. Now, there's always a chance of any type of settling, but the type of pool that we put in with the thickness of the concrete, the amount of rebar and support that we have, there's I can never say never. And there is a warranty. I just can't, and I can get back to you on that. I don't know what the warranty period is. There is a warranty period. So, you know, it was something that we've designed, and we've had the best engineers we could find, try to make sure, and we have the type of fill we've put in, the type of clear stone they've used. We've used every type of backfilling procedure to make sure that we've done it appropriately to not only have the pool vessel itself stay in its design shape, but the pool deck as well. We don't want to have that thing heaving as well. So we've gone to the extra efforts to make sure the design elements are correct, and fingers crossed. But we do have a guarantee, and there is a workmanship guarantee with not only the work that Myron and all the construction guys do, but I don't have that on recall what that period is.
I don't recall what it is either, but I can say that the pool that I created back in Colorado at Castle Pines was poured in February, and to this day, it's still, the integrity is still intact. There's some new technology with concrete pouring in the wintertime. I don't understand what it is. I just know how much it costs, and I know that it works, right? Because so many places in the country, you can't pour concrete in the wintertime. There's such a limited window that you can do. But they came up with the science and they came up with the practice, and it absolutely holds. So I'm sure that is exactly what we're doing here, as we've done in other clubs in other areas. So but we can get back and let you know what that kind of warranty period is,
Yeah.
whether or not it's 12 months, 24 months, 60 months.
Well, I think it's important to also remember, I think some of the first early estimates we had on a pool came from less expensive contractors, and we'd only heard of a few clubs around the area that had used a Florida pool contractor to build a pool in Wisconsin. Probably not the best match made in heaven, right? So by having Badger Pools, who's located here in Wisconsin, they pour pools throughout the state of Wisconsin. They understand the freeze-thaw cycle, the needs and requirements for this type of environment. So we put our trust in the experts from that standpoint. But thank you for the good question. And I'll get back and we'll try to get something out on what that warranties are. My brain's just full with a lot of other things. Anything else? Nothing else? Anything for John or Dave? Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the support. This project is going to be, it's going to be a showcase. I really think we've taken our $1 million view and it's now a $2 million view, and this is going to be just a wonderful, wonderful addition to this already great club. So thank you for the support. I think you'll all love it, and I'm excited for you to see the lake house on the deck on Memorial Day weekend, and we'll get that pool open as fast as we can. All right? Thanks, everyone.
In case anybody was wondering, the bar is open. Never a doubt.